We live in a society where success is gauged as being wealthy, respected, or famous. But how do you define success? On this episode, we sit down to talk to a daring and courageous lady. She emerges from a checkered past to become a catalyst of change.
Hi, I'm Shalini Bhalla and this is my success story. Success for me was always defined by the clothes I wore, the car I drove, how much money I was making in my business, the restaurants I ate in. In fact, it was always defined by the extrinsic factors that only create 10% of happiness within us. Until I suffered from depression, from terrible failure, from bereavement, and suddenly what I defined as success changed. And now I look at my biggest success as the human connections that I make. And perhaps the most important connection I ever made was with my husband, Jeremy. I was 21 when I met Jeremy, fresh off the Boeing, this good Indian girl from Nairobi landing in London. He was the divorced father of 3 children, 40 years old, an Englishman. On paper, we were completely wrong for each other. But the minute I saw him, I fell in love with him. My family wouldn't accept him. The society here in Kenya would not accept him. I was supposed to marry a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman, a well-to-do man, preferably Indian. And I was supposed to have a few children along the way too. That was what everybody else wanted for me. What I wanted for myself didn't matter. But I rebelled, and I chose Jeremy over everything else. And this resulted in 12 years of estrangement from my family, except for my sister, who did stick by me. It was actually a really happy time, and yet at the same time it was tinged with sadness, because I was really missing my family, and I had this terrible guilt that I had caused this rift between my family and me. One day I had this horrendous breakdown, and I was hospitalized with clinical depression and severe stress. And coming out of that depression took a really long time, but I was able to do it with mindfulness and dance and talking therapy. And most importantly, with the love and support of Jeremy. He was my rock. And then in July 2014, he was diagnosed with a very unusual and quite aggressive form of renal cancer. And this cancer took his life exactly 2 years later, in July 2016. I was not prepared for the grief that struck me after he died. We'd been together 19 years, and suddenly he wasn't there. The grief that I felt, the depression of the darkest kind, was followed by substance abuse and loneliness. Loneliness that I have never, ever felt before. It was crippling in its strength. It was frightening in its relentlessness. I just didn't want to be here anymore. And so suicidal ideation just became a part of my life. The first time I had depression, I had Jeremy's support. He would come and visit me in hospital every day. He would ask about my therapy. He really was my rock. And then when he died and I had depression, he wasn't there to support me. I had to do it all alone. And that journey was much harder because the depression was darker, it was deeper, but also my biggest support wasn't there. That was tough. But then something in me changed. And again, with dance and mindfulness and talking therapy, I began to heal again. But this time, it was without Jeremy. So it was much harder. But I have healed, and I continue to heal. Every day is a healing process. And I look back on my life with Jeremy as the happiest, most beautiful time with this wonderful, kind human being. And I think to myself that amongst all the successes I had, the money, the awards, the recognition, the thing that stands out was my relationship with my husband. And so going against my family, going against society, and doing what I really believed in, and fighting the odds to make this relationship successful has got to be my biggest success. And so I would tell everybody that what you need to put ahead of everything is your connections with people. Nourish your relationships. Because having those encounters, even with a person who might be in your life for an hour, a day, a year, a decade, those moments can be truly magical. No matter how fleeting the encounter, they can be truly special. Let that choice be yours, whether it's a relationship or a career choice. If it's a mistake, it's your mistake to make. Life is so short, it's so fragile. Make the most of it, live life to the fullest, be compassionate, and more than anything, be happy. Loving Jeremy was not just something that happened to me. I believe it was my good fortune. I believe it was my destiny. And for that, for those 19 years together, I will be forever grateful. I'm Shalini Bhalla Lucas, and this is my success story.